episode of the Lonely Liberal Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Sankin, and I'm so happy to have you on this lovely... well, it'll be Sunday when you hear this. It's Saturday when I'm recording this. I'm on the road, as you'll hear in the conversation with Rick. We're going to be talking with Rick like we do every weekend about the news. I mean, my God, all the Iran stuff, the terrorist attack in Michigan, the SAVE Act drama. There's so much to get to, so trust me, we will be chatting it through. So we might as well just get to I was going to say bye, but we might as well just get to it. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alrighty, and we're with Rick. Rick, what's going on?
Hey, great to be back. How's it going?
I'm doing well. I'm actually, as maybe keen viewers of our one show might notice, a change of different white wall. It went from one white wall to another. I'm actually in Detroit visiting my in-laws, my niece's first birthday. Very cute. But yeah, broadcasting live from Royal Oak.
Well, happy birthday to your niece, and also happy 1 year to the Lonely Liberal. I know you talked about it on your solo app, but I wanted to, talk about it and say thanks to all the listeners, and yeah, congrats.
Yeah, we're episode 101 right now. Can you believe it? We did over 100 episodes. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
Absolutely nuts. And no way, right? I would have thought this would have been a thing. I would have never thought we'd go over 100.
Yeah, same here. Do you remember actually we recorded one episode of a podcast years ago?
Oh yeah, when I was in England. When I lived in England, we had our 2015.
Yeah, a solid decade ago. So that was a one-off. So that's what I thought this would be. It's we'll try and dabble, but we'll see. And look where we are now.
Yeah, I actually went back and listened to that episode, and I lead it with a 20-minute rant about how I can't find good peanut butter, and maybe it was probably a good that we kept that unshelved. It was just me whining about the grocery stores of England. But no, I'm in I've been to Detroit now a few times. Obviously it's an odd spot, but also some cool spots. I went to this restaurant that people may know from Instagram because this guy gets popular. He's a Lebanese dude. Detroit 75, good subs. Went there. It was excellent. And I bought the merch.
Nice.
I'll get the merch. Yeah, it's funny. This dude, he's great. He's this Lebanese guy and he does clips from his food truck where he'll be but it cracks me up because he's clearly run out of material doing so many TikTok type things. So he repeats himself a lot. And I'm sure it's fine because people don't see every clip like me because they don't religiously watch this Lebanese sub guy all the time like I do. I find it funny. And 1 out of 5 are pay your goddamn employees. Stop being broke asses. And people in the comments are hell yeah, pay your... And they'll be give them a free meal. I don't get it. And he's right. And it just... He says it every other day. I'm yeah, we get it, dude. You pay your guys. You give them free meals. Or he does one about how he won't open up on the weekends and their people are pissed. But he's I give my employees time off. Get off my back. And I'm just and I like that. It's all good stuff. It's just, he talks about it so often. I'm yeah, we know. You're not open on Saturday. We know. But I had to go there yesterday. So I went there Friday. We're doing a rare Saturday recording. And yeah, so... Anyways, it was delicious. So if you're ever in the area, Detroit 75.
Yeah, for sure. And me and you went to a great concert a few days ago as well.
Well, yeah, we should talk about that because we like to take the top of the show to talk about nothing that people are looking for.
To talk about concert confrontations.
Yeah, common theme. So Rick and I went to an awesome show, Goldie Boutier. Is that how you say her last name? Excellent. Check her out. And it was a great show. She was excellent. The opener, also good, but will remain nameless because Rick, let's just say, sniffed out a little bit of a problem with her right off the jump. So I'll set the scene and then I'll let Rick let him loose. So we were listening and she's killing it. She sounds great. The band sounds great. And I look over at Rick and he's just a little suspicious.
I have my skeptical thumbnail face on.
Yeah. Puzzled Rick. And so after the set, Rick goes, do you think that sounded a little too good? I go, what do you mean? And she goes, the volume? I think it was lip synced. And so we're wondering if it was, and we're talking about it. And yeah, Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, and part of it is like I asked you, do we just sound like boomers if we even care that most of the sound was coming from a backing track versus live? like, are we outdated even asking these questions or caring
Yeah.
about this? Because, like, so there was only 3 members of the band, and they had, like, the bass and piano and rhythm guitar on a pre-recorded backing track. So it's not like they were, like, hiding that or anything. Like, they were very obviously playing along with the backing track, but they themselves, the people on stage, like, everything just sounded so perfect, like, better than any music set I've ever seen. And we've
Yeah.
been to a lot of concerts between the both of us. Um,
Hundreds of shows, like,
Hundreds.
between the both. Yeah.
And this is, like, a very mostly unknown, up and coming
Opener for a smaller band in themselves. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I've never heard, like, volume that's that perfect and that consistent with the vocals and the guitar. And so I'm a little bit skeptical, I'd say, but, like, I'm also wondering if I'm a boomer to even ask these questions. Like,
Yeah.
how much was the backing track? How much was pitch correction in play?
Yeah, there's all these
Um,
well, what's so funny is the guitarist was soloing, and he was really the volume of him was definitely perfect. And if he was faking it, and he was making so many stank faces, he's a real asshole. You know what I mean? Because he
that's
was going
true.
like he was like really leaning into how stinky his sounds was. And so if he wasn't even touching the strings, he's a piece or unplugged, he's a real piece of shit because that was unbelievable.
That's true. What a acting performance with
I know, because
with the
he was
stank
like
face. Uh,
he was like playing it like he was like freaking, Eddie Van Halen.
and he was clearly I just don't know if he was plugged in. He clearly knew how to play the songs because, like, I play guitar and I could tell he was matching the notes close enough for me not to be able to tell, but there was one moment where he, like, jumped across the stage, and his solo continued at the perfect volume during this, like, leap across the stage, and I was like, "Alright, something seems a little bit off here."
He did fly too. He was airborne for a while. This guy put on so we concluded at the end of it, either we just saw the greatest up and coming band of all time, and this is basically Stevie Ray Vaughan incarnate, or they were faking it. And yeah, I'm curious what people think. If like, is it weird to care? I find it weird for an opener to do it because what do they have to lose? It's not like But I will say this: I did listen to a few of their songs on Spotify after, like to hear, and I thought they sounded worse. Because the singer sang through that, like, kind of Black Keys muffler thing, like that, "wah, wah," and I actually think live she had a little bit more oomph behind her voice, and I kinda don't think she needs the muffler, like the fake bluesy, like you're in a can kinda thing.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, it was the combination of the guitarist and the vocals were both like the volume and the
Pristine.
notes. Not one note was slightly quieter than another note. Like everything was so unbelievably perfect that yeah, we either saw the best performance of all time or or they were like unplugged or barely singing and playing along with a backing track that was like 90% of the sound that we were
And,
hearing.
like and to be clear, like, we get it, like, pop singers and stuff, like, I've seen Dua Lipa live, she's dancing the whole time, she's not singing the whole time, that's fine, I don't really care, but for a band, it felt weird. Yeah, anyway, I'm curious what people think, but yeah, overall, I was happy with both of them.
Sure.
Overall, it was great,
It was
but
great.
yeah, it has I've been thinking about it a lot since the show because it was odd.
Yeah, same. I'm still looking into it.
Yeah, we'll get back to people with some more evidence. But we actually, of course, I say actually like it's surprising. We have another week of wild news to go through, and like the last few weeks, where we should just lead with some Iran war stuff because that's obviously still evolving. Let me just bang out a few of these kind of overarching themes, and then I just want to talk about kind of like more of the vibe of everything. But yeah, so this week, the new leader of Iran, the new supreme leader, Khomeini's son, so Khomeini was the one who'd been there forever, he died. He's this new kid. I say kid, he's 56 years old, but he is the child of him. And he made his first public statement this week, but it was read aloud by a TV anchor, so he still hasn't really come out into public yet. since the bombings and stuff like that. Pete Hegseth, our defense secretary, says he thinks he's wounded and likely disfigured. I mean, probably because his house was exploded, right? But anyways, he said basically that their lever of closing the Strait of Hormuz, which is the strait where all the oil tankers and everything kind of goes through that Iran can control, is staying closed. And he was pretty aggressive, where he said, like, we haven't finished. We're going to avenge the death of our martyrs. I assure everyone that we will not be done. We haven't seen them suffer as much as they need to suffer, all of these things. So doesn't sound like he's in the mood to negotiate. And given the fact that we killed his parents and his wife and his kid, I can't imagine he's in a great mood. So if Trump thought this would be Venezuela too, where they would just kidnap the president or get rid of the president, and then the next one will just be like, hey, don't do that again, I'll be nice. That's not seeming to be what this is going to be like.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if Trump and his team assumed that the whole family would be killed and like there would be this power vacuum where they'd be able to influence who the next leader is, because it makes like seemingly a dumb war seem even dumber
Yeah, I totally
when
agree. Yeah.
this guy's son took over, who has every possible motivation and reason to be more antagonistic to the US and the West than his father did.
Yep.
So I don't really know what their plan was, other than they didn't expect any of his offspring to survive, I guess.
It's insane. And so I did the Wednesday show on this topic, that the U.S. is losing this war and is likely going to lose this war for exactly that reason, right? Like all of its stated objectives of, changing the leadership, making sure there's no nuclear weapons, making sure Iran's not funding its proxies. It's failed on all fronts, right? And so if it ended today, I think it's not unfair to say the U.S. would be considered the loser. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. Like I don't know what
Like, what
they
would be the victory? Like, what
right,
would be the good
what
thing?
they
Yeah.
have what have they accomplished other than killing a bunch of civilians, which further antagonizes the civilian population against the United States and lessens the chance that there'd be any friendly to the US ruler in the near future. Um, and they killed their leader, who was replaced by his own son. But like that's the accomplishments. Like obviously the oil aspect of it is obviously a net negative,
Worse.
unless
Yeah.
right, it's way
prices
worse.
have gone up. Like, they
Right.
50% or whatever. Yeah.
Right, prices are skyrocketing and, like, it's setting off a true global panic, and every country is trying
It's
to
a
figure out
nightmare.
every other country that was using the strait to transport oil is now, like, figuring out alternate routes, and the UAE and Saudi Arabia are like, "Maybe we should just start building more pipelines because none of these options are good."
Yeah.
That are on the table. So, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't see how this could be a win in any possible way unless they install some leader that's friendly to the US. And then I still would not personally say it's a win, but I can see how Trump would portray it as a win in that case. But even that seems unlikely now.
Well, and it speaks to the larger question of how, in the modern era, war is a bad idea, period. Not just because of the human side of it, obviously, which is why, step one, why you and I don't like war. We're the humanitarian part. Murder, bad. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I don't like it. But, like, even if you were a psychopath and didn't care about the loss of life and you thought of it more strategically or whatever, like politically, Machiavellian type style, like, when's the last time someone's won a war and it went well for the country aggressing it? Like,
Right.
seriously, like, if you think about it, like, this is a bust already, right? Like, Russia, this is a huge bust for Russia. Obviously, Iraq, Afghanistan, disaster. The Gulf War was a disaster. Like, that was a loss. I mean, Israel hasn't really taken out Hamas after all of that, killed all those civilians, and Hamas is still in charge of Gaza. What actual war has gone well? Where you've been like, oh, yeah, like that actually really helped the country out that started the war? Has there Vietnam, obviously, we can go that far back. No. Was it Korea, maybe? You know what I mean? Like, that's like
Right, and
it's almost 100 years ago, if you really think about it. Like,
yeah, and the interesting thing is usually with wars like this, like the ones you mentioned, there's initial successes at the start, like taking out Saddam Hussein and W. Bush standing in front of a banner that says mission accomplished.
Yep.
And the Gulf War, for example, too, like was seen as a success in the near term, and then you evaluate it over the 20 years that followed, and it's, very different. So, like, we don't even have these successes here, though. Like,
No, this is a bust.
there's
Yeah.
nothing you can point to other than we killed their one supreme leader who is immediately replaced by his son. But, like, there's no, like, oh, we're liberating them in the near term. Like, there's no spin that Trump can put on it that looks like there's any successes in the near term. And the costs of obtaining those successes, like let's say taking over the entire country, massive ground troop invasion by the US, we take control of all of their oil and oil prices come down. Like even that would be seen as a failure because of the cost to American life
Of
that would be
course.
involved in that. So even with all those other wars you mentioned, Afghanistan too, like the initial successes against the Taliban and like the first couple years of that war, and then you look at it 20 years later, and it's like, oh my God, what a complete mess and
The Taliban's still in power.
yeah, and waste of life and dollars. But here there's like nothing yet. That there's no
This is a
successes
bust.
yet.
Well, this is very similar to Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine, I think, where they thought, oh, this will be easy money, and it wasn't. And then, I mean, look what happened with them. I mean, it's a disaster. It's been an absolute disaster for Russia and Ukraine, obviously, but specifically for Russia. I mean, it's been an awful, 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 awful decision. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that's a bad option nowadays. In the modern, I just don't think it actually achieves what people think it will because of the dynamics, the media, like how things are getting, like how things escalate nowadays versus how they used to escalate. Like, I just don't think it works. And interesting, like, so the Pentagon came out with a report that, and this is from the Pentagon themselves, so this isn't just me speculating, that the war cost $11.3 billion in the first 6 days. Also, in the first 6 days, obviously, like you said, 7 American soldiers were killed. Over 1,300 Iranians have been killed, 700 in Lebanon, 800,000 displaced in Lebanon, and 13 Israelis dead. This is a disaster and frankly insane. To compare it to the war in Iraq, right? That cost $300 million a day, which is crazy, but still less than $11 billion in 6 days. I mean, that's over $1 billion a day. That's almost 4 times as much.
And that
Yeah,
was a massive ground invasion. Like as far as
exactly.
on the ground troops go, that was like
Way more. I
a
mean,
way
yeah,
way
yeah, yeah.
bigger involvement.
So it just shows you how expensive this has been relative to the last major conflict that the U.S. has been involved in. And how, once again, how I want everyone listening to realize every time they say they don't have the money, they are lying to your face. They always have the money. They always say, we can't keep printing money forever. We don't got money. We need to tighten up sometime. They don't think that. I just never believe that ever. Now, you may think it's stupid. Like, you might personally think they need to be more fiscally responsible. And that we can argue about if that's true or not, right? Like that's a normal, I think, and productive conversation to have. But that's not what we're saying. They don't think that. The people of Congress in Washington, they actually don't think the money matters. You might, but they don't. And these are more and more pieces of evidence that prove that. So I think sometimes people, they believe it and they project because they get lied to that, oh, I think that too. They don't think that. They are working you. But what do you think?
Yeah, totally. And like, yeah, that last point you made, like people project that because like we all have our own personal finances and budgets and stuff like that. And we think that, hopefully, we think that, oh, if I was a US senator and had a major role in planning the budget for the most powerful and richest country on the planet, like I would take that very seriously and I would scrutinize like every $1 billion that, we designate towards something, but they're not.
No.
they're
No.
not doing that.
No. But they will if it's $1 billion towards, like, keep in mind, folks, that, like, we can end homelessness in, like, $10 billion in the country. Like these claims of, like, welfare abuse and stuff like, they're so, like, the number of welfare, if you're someone and you're listening and you're mad about those Somalians in Minnesota and they're committing fraud and blah, 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 this is nowhere even close to the scale that this billions of dollars. And this is just gone, like, with no discussion. No one even wanted this Iranian war. And it just, gone. And let's not forget that the Defense Department repeatedly tells us they couldn't pass an audit. So, I mean, it's just the idea that, and it speaks to a larger topic of people pointing the gun when they go, everyone agrees there's waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. They're lying to you when they say it's the poor people doing it, when in reality, it's the rich people and the companies. Just plain and simple. I mean, does nothing show that more than Kristi Noem spending $220 million on a freaking campaign ad?
Yeah, and what you always hear, like, people in the government respond to the criticisms about our defense budget being so large compared with every other country. Like, you always hear, like, you can't put a price on safety and things like that. But is this war making us more or less safe? Is an important question. Now, obviously, like,
less. Less.
You also should weigh the safety of the country we're invading. If you have, morals and everything, like, that should be considered too. But even if you're looking at it from, like, a selfish American perspective, like, is this making America less safe or more safe? Like, in my opinion, less safe, because we're antagonizing a massive, powerful Middle Eastern country, and we're focusing so much of our defense spending on this unnecessary war. When shouldn't that defense spending go on, CIA investigating potential threats within the U.S.?
No, they rather spend the National Intelligence Bureau in Georgia talking about fake 2020 election bullshit. Like, that's where the Tulsi Gabbard is, doing photo ops in Fulton County. Like, it's ridiculous. And it comes in, and we'll get to this later, but yeah, whatever. It's just crazy. And to make all of this worse, and the thing that is truly disgusting and makes the saddest part of the show, I think, is, early Pentagon report confirms that it was indeed the U.S. that struck the Iranian girls' school, killing around 165 to 175 kids, effectively, And I do think this timeline of events needs to be broken down a little bit, because it's classic Trump. This is Trump 101, and it's just always like this. So just for some context, they shot this it got hit with a Tomahawk missile. Just for people listening, only Australia, UK, Japan, and Netherlands have Tomahawk missiles. Or use them, rather. So Iran doesn't have it. So when they originally said Iran struck the school, that was always impossible, because that would mean that they literally stole an American missile and shot it to them, or got it from an ally, which would have been a nuts outcome. So here's the interesting thing. So the school is right next to a defense like a military thing in Iran. In 2010, it was part of the same complex, but it got walled off in 2013 to become a school, right? So so clearly what happened, right, is that they had old maps. They shot it. It was a mistake, but obviously a war crime nevertheless. I don't believe they intentionally shot the school. Or maybe I'm naive, but I genuinely don't think that. But what it does show is that when Pete Hegseth fired a huge swath of the people who specifically worked on updating these maps last year, I wonder why they had bad data. Anyways, so like I said, originally they said Iran struck the school. Then they said Iran actually stole the Tomahawks, which everyone said was wrong. Then Trump goes, his classic, so this report has come out that this, what do you think? I don't know. And then, I don't know. Have you noticed? He didn't know about the January 6th after. Oh, I don't know about. He very quickly becomes ignorant of topics as soon as it looks back. And it's just like, this guy is such a piece of shit. Not only for all the reasons that we all know, but like, he'll never admit he's wrong ever in any context, no matter what Never. I thought this, I made a mistake. He'll blame everyone. He already tried blaming Kushner for the war, right? Kushner told me. And my God, he's such a wuss. Like, he's just such a coward, you know? And I can't believe people think he's a tough guy when he's just such a baby and such a child. And yeah.
Yeah, he's so petty, and it would be exhausting to be friends or have a family member that is like that psychologically. You know what I mean?
Insane.
To have to deal with like that level of narcissism and refusal to ever admit anything was wrong. Yeah, it's so frustrating personally, and
Yeah.
also like something we always talk about of like it's also why Trump is so dangerous as a president in addition to the right-wing policies he's passing. Like, it's twofold. It's the right-wing Heritage Foundation Project 2025 agenda, but it's also that he is psychologically a total narcissistic mess, and it
Yep.
affects everything he does.
It truly what makes him unstable, like to that next level of maniac. And let's just, I mean, this should go without saying, but Pete, like, even if I don't think that they intentionally killed all those children, they killed all those children. And at the absolute bare minimum, Hegseth needs to be removed. Period. Like, it was a mistake. Yeah, a huge mistake. A war crime mistake. You committed a war crime. Like, that's not a mistake. You can't go, my bad, and it's over. And it's just like, that should be enough. Like, accountability for a group that says, you know, time and time again, like, we're going to be like competence for, what was the slogan, the thing they used to always say, like skill first, or like when they were saying
Like merit-based or something?
Merit-based, yeah.
Yeah.
Merit-based. His merit is so bad. He's so
Right.
bad at his job. Like, he couldn't have less merit.
Awful merit.
No merit. like, my God. Like, his merit is non-existent. So, like, if you people really think that we should, like, you know, DEI was a thing from hell and, you know, all these idiots were getting jobs because of this DEI crap and we really need to go to merit-based, by what merit has Pete Hegseth deemed his job to still be his? Not only has he leaked war plans to major editorial things a couple weeks into the office, he's just, in the interim, went through a tour calling generals fat. Then he bombed a bunch of boats of civilians in international waters, another war crime, by the way. And then he takes the president of another country, does God knows what with him. We still don't know who's running Venezuela. I'm going to keep asking that every week until someone tells me what the fuck is going on in Venezuela. And then now he kills a bunch of kids because he fired all the MAP people and now goes, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, he needs to be gone. It's not a matter of politics. It's a matter of competence. This guy is terrible at his job.
Right.
Like, I don't care what you think about him as a guy or like, I don't like him. I think he's a scumbag, but I'm not even talking about that. This guy sucks at the Defense Department. Like, he sucks at this. He's bad at this. He's not fit for office.
And he was chosen because Trump liked the way that he sounded on TV, just like how Trump chose his new DHS secretary. It was the same thing with Hegseth. It's like, this guy looks like someone who could play his part on a TV show, and he was basically a professional media personality. And Trump loves that because Trump is 80 years old and still watches cable news for 6 hours a day. And that's why Hegseth is still there, because it's like the two requirements are be loyal to Trump 100%, loyalty to him over loyalty to the country and everything else, and fit into Trump's idea of what a character on a TV show would look like in that role.
Yeah.
That's all he cares about.
Does this look like someone from MASH? Like
West Wing.
Yeah, exactly. And Hegseth does have that Homelander type look to him that he likes, but he also has the Crusaders slogan tattooed on his chest, and so he's an absolute nut. But yeah, I just, like, again, and we're annoying about it, but it's true. Like, any other administration, this guy's gone instantly. Biden, Bush, Trump 1, this is instantly gone. Like, these people are toast. You know what I mean? Like the idea that all you have to do is attack Trump. Someone should go, one of these guys should, like we talked about last week, go, Trump, Hegseth killing a bunch of children really puts Trump in a bad spot, and that would get him fired. Someone should say that,
Right.
But anyways, speaking of Fox News, Trump was on Fox, and we're going to play a clip from him later. But this clip made me want to ask a larger question, but I'm just wanted to talk about this. So he was on Fox talking to Brian Kilmeade, I think is his name. And he was asked, I'm just reading the quote, that's why I'm looking over it. Like, is Putin helping Iran, right? Because obviously Iran and Russia had a relationship going into this conflict. And this is the direct quote from Trump, right? I think he might be helping them a little bit. Yeah, I guess. And he probably thinks we're helping Ukraine, right? And then Kilmeade goes, are we helping Ukraine? And he goes, yeah, we're helping them too. It's like, hey, they do it and we'll do it. I guess it's fair. I'm with Putin here. Which, okay, so you're with the guy helping our enemy, apparently? All right, crazy. Just for starters, that's insane. But here's the larger question, and we get asked more questions. The two number one questions I get asked by far are, why is it called Only Liberal? That's number one. And two is X gonna be World War III? Right? Like, that's question I get all the time. And literally always, I've said no, right? And I think even when this launched, I said no. I'm starting to think that I'm not saying it's definitely World War III, but I'm saying this is now the closest to World War III I think we've gone. And I'm going to give you my argument, and I want to hear what you think. All right. So, like, for starters, if this is true, right, Putin is helping Iran, that means the U.S. and Russia are now fighting two proxy wars, right? One in Ukraine and now one in Iran, right? So that's two. Also, you have them bombing all the Gulf states, right? All these Arab countries, right? You have all these little alliances forming between like different ones, like defense pacts and stuff like that. You have Europe with like Cyprus and France and England helping them out and stuff like that. It's not very clear. It's all these like little webs. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if you remember like how World War I started, it was when all these little pacts came because people like thought things were going. It was pre-UN, right? So all these like little alliances started forming. And the fact that we're seeing that now because Trump has basically killed NATO's in spirit, even if not literally, this is all happening. Plus you have the proxy wars. And also, right, you have now the U.S. moving a lot of their assets from Asia into the Middle East, right? Like, especially around Japan, around Taiwan. So a lot of experts are saying that, like, this is a big opening for China, which, again, I'm not saying then they'll necessarily do, but if they were to attack Taiwan. But, like, I'll tell you this, it doesn't help when you remove all your boats from that area and put them somewhere else, right? So I don't know. There is a very large volume of countries making agreements. There are multiple proxy wars clearly at play. And now there's an opening for the Asian kind of hemisphere to like start getting crazy. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but this setup is a lot more dangerous, I think, than even the Afghanistan, Iraq type stuff, because that was very condensed inside one specific area. But I'm curious what you think about all this, because I thought this quote kind of unveiled maybe something a little scarier.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're a smaller country that isn't a close ally to the US or China, but does trade with both, and you're considering who you want to cozy up to more in the next decade, are you going to choose the US, which is not defending its allies anymore, not interested in soft power or cooperation, isn't the economic superpower that it once was, although obviously still is, to some extent, but like, or are you going to go with China, the rapidly expanding, growing economy,
full of stability, like you know exactly what they're going to do,
right? And like Trump, he really with Venezuela and Iran, like it really is the worst combination of isolationism and interventionism combined into one. Like he's isolating the US from all of our allies. But that whole argument of why we should do that was all about America first and we're not going to waste money intervening in other countries. Like
Yeah.
that whole
Exactly.
argument about isolating ourselves and not cooperating with NATO and Europe and all of that, like all of that assumes we're not invading other countries and antagonizing the rest of the world against us at the same time.
Yep.
And I don't think
Exactly.
that's a good strategy anyway, even if we went full isolationist. But like it really does depend on that. Um so this like reversal, it's the worst combination of things because it's giving so many smaller countries reasons not to be our ally moving forward. And like in the end, soft power really does matter. Like it really is a form of power. And I don't think Trump believes in it, obviously. Like I think Trump sees things like a mafia boss and we have the most nukes, so that's all that matters. But yeah, it's not looking good.
Well, do you think this could escalate further? Like what for people who think, it not just is this World War III, but like what is a realistic way this could escalate to something in that vein? Like what do you think that would potentially look like? I mean, is it a continuation of this? I mean, it feels like to me if the US brings land, like, boots on the ground to Iran and maybe Russia does too, but I doubt they'd do that. I don't know, or China does something in Asia. I don't know. I just feel like something could happen that could maybe move it there. Europe gets hit with anything, maybe.
Yeah, and God forbid any significant terrorist attack
Well, we're gonna
would
talk
would
about one
change.
right after this.
Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
like a 9/11 like event in the US or Europe
Oh my
could set
god.
off anything. But I think of all the things you talked about, China seeing this as an opportunity to fully take Taiwan seems like one of the more realistic scenarios.
Yeah, especially with them removing the boats, right? And just in case, this interview was one that just kept on giving insanity. Like, also in this interview, he had asked the host, Killamade, when are you going to know when it's over? Referring to the Iran war. And Trump said, when I feel it in my bones. So when people say, what's the strategy? That's it. When he feels like it. We are now sending people to death based off the blood sugar levels of a maniac. Like, that's what it is. Like, there's no other rationale. Like, that's it.
Yeah, like my knee is acting up and it's going to rain tomorrow. And that's and based on that, I'll end the war or continue. Also, I mean, we have to mention that this is the guy who dodged the Vietnam draft because of bone spurs. And
I
now he's
know.
saying he's going to make military decisions based on how his bones feel. Like
I know.
his bones are playing too big of a role in foreign policy.
Well, also, I love how they go, is Barron gonna go? Because he's like, 18 or whatever. And they go, he's too tall. He's not that tall. He's like 6'4". There's plenty of people. They act like he's 7'7". He's a tall kid, but he's not.
Yeah, but genetically his bones are awful.
Oh, he can't do it. He's a freak. He should be in the Bailey Brothers or whatever the hell. Like, he should be juggling fireballs. Like, no, what are you talking about? He's just kind of tall. He's not that big. It's just, I'm pretty sure NBA players were enlisted into World War II, like in Vietnam. I'm pretty sure, like they were literally had to go.
Yeah, I thought it was like a BMI. I didn't think it was like a height max thing. I thought it was like a BMI thing. Like if you're 6'5" and you weigh 140 pounds, then that would be an issue. I thought that was.
Yeah, but if there were ever all hands on deck, they just feed you. They would like
Right.
if it was ever that severe, right? Like, give me a break. You'd have to be like an elephant man, where like something was going wrong with you, like you literally couldn't walk. It was like a disability, your height. How that happens
Right,
sometimes.
exactly.
So yeah, it's ridiculous. He's an absolute. This is a clown show. This is an absolute clown. This is the Ringley Brothers. Anyway, but speaking of terrorist attack, right? Speaking of being in Michigan, I'm in Michigan. So this week, and this is linked to the Iran war. So this week on Thursday, on March 12th, this Lebanese-born naturalized U.S. citizen rammed a pickup truck packed with fireworks and gasoline into Temple, Israel, but the Michigan Temple, Israel, which is a suburb 30 miles from Detroit. It caused a fire. Everyone was fine, other than him. Obviously, he was shot and killed. This is the biggest. Temple Israel is one of the biggest Reform congregations in the U.S. Period. So they found out that this was due to his brothers and niece and nephew were killed in an Israeli airstrike in Lebanon on March 5th. Obviously, that doesn't make this justified, but this is what he was thinking, And yeah, you can definitely draw a nexus between what's happening in Iran and what happened today. Doesn't make it right, but this is what I think is at least the motivation it's seeming like. And yeah, I do think, one, horrible, terrible, leave the kids alone. That's absolutely disgusting. It does also make me think about how people aren't talking about Israel's action in Lebanon that much, in the sense of like, there's a land invasion of Lebanon now. 700,000 people have been displaced, and a lot of people have died. Hezbollah, who runs Lebanon, is putting up more of a fight than I think Israel would have hoped, And frankly, Israel and Lebanon have had a more active conflict than Israel and Iran have had, in terms of like shooting missiles at each other and things like that. So it is kind of one of the more under discussed topics. But yeah, I mean, first, I guess we should unpack this attack. Just terrible. An example of, people are losing their freaking minds, and this is a disaster.
Yeah, and you're right. Like the mainstream media doesn't cover Lebanon that much, just in general.
Yeah, Lebanon
And-
doesn't get any news. It's crazy.
But it's crazy because so much of the justification about why Iran is a problem from Israel and from the Trump administration is about them funding Hezbollah. Like, that's really the central, like, that's the biggest piece of the argument.
Of course. Yeah.
It's because, and the fear that Iran would give nuclear capabilities to Hezbollah or to a terrorist group, because
Hamas, Houthis,
right, because
one of these
obviously,
guys, yeah.
like, mutual assured destruction is a thing, and the government of Iran is not a bunch of suicidal jihadists who are going to just nuke the U.S. the second they get a nuke and not care that they're all going to die. Like, mutually assured destruction, like, is a real thing. So, like, the fear is always about the proxies and who they're funding. And yeah, and like those stats that you mentioned earlier, like 800,000 displaced in Lebanon. Again, we're only on day 13
I
of this
know.
war, and almost 1 million people in a relatively small country are displaced. And obviously that means they're going to try to immigrate to
They're
the
leaving.
surrounding countries, just like we saw in the Syrian civil war. So that, creates 1 million downstream.
Well, so obviously the listeners know, I'm half Lebanese. My dad's cousins had to leave Lebanon and went to Turkey. They were one of those people because of the conflict. So yeah, like I know people who had to leave, which is terrible. It's awful.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's hard to talk about without sounding like you're justifying this horrible terrorist attack. Like, it's hard to even talk about any of these things because it could be taken out of context. You know what I mean?
No, I felt that
Like,
when I was explaining it. I
right.
felt that. I literally felt what you're saying. Yeah.
But like,
100%.
even though none of that is justified, even if some Iranian civilian who just lost his parents in this war, let's say, somehow found his way into the U.S. next week and committed a terrorist attack, like, even that would not be justified. But at the same time, like, we have to realistically understand that these are downstream effects of invading other countries and arming Israel and allowing Israel to do whatever they want. Like, we're creating a lot of enemies, millions and millions of enemies by these actions.
It's a disaster. What's so sad about it is, like, one of the things that the Trump administration talks about all of the time is anti-Semitism. Like, that's become a very big talking point. And this is a great example of anti-Semitism, right? Trying to bomb a synagogue, right? Like, it's so frustrating because, like, obviously you're a Jewish guy. I'm married to a Jewish woman. Like, this is what causes the anti-Semitism. All the shit that Israel is doing and Trump and them are doing is where this comes from. Like, this is, like, they're making it so much worse. Like, in the name of defending anti-Semitism, I feel like we're just going to be dealing with such a stronger iteration of anti-Semitism than before. That's legitimately terrible and tragic, and so much of and it's getting even more and more foggy, I think, to distinguish, the motivations of anti-Semitic people versus, anti-Zionists or whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? And like, or people who don't know anything are just reading on social media. Like, this thing is getting so blurry to me and so disturbing because, like, anti-Semitism is real. It is on the rise, and it is awful in every regard. It's also true that the nation of Israel is insane right now. The government of Israel is crazy and killing civilians like crazy and causing wars. And people just, I think, need to separate civilians from government and stuff like that. And like, obviously, but like, it's hard to do that when our own leaders don't do that, where they have so much contempt for immigrants. You know what I mean? And it causes such a hatred for, broad strokes, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. Like, and I just, yeah, I feel awful. I mean, I feel horrible for those kids. I mean, like, what the hell, it's terrifying. I hate that we live in a world like this. It's so depressing. And this guy lost his mind, clearly. He went insane, and it's awful. And I feel terrible that this stuff just seems like it'll be no end in sight,
Yeah, totally. And I was just listening to an interview that John Favreau from Pod Save America did with I forget his name, but they were talking about how, like, we're not meant to see all this stuff. Like, humans are not evolved to, on your way to work, see ICE shooting somebody in the head on the street.
Yep.
And then you're expected to just put down your phone and go to work like it's a normal day. And like, we're not expected to have real-time updates of every attack that takes place internationally. You know what I mean? And it really, like, it gets at the heart of, like, how people get drawn into supporting a strongman authoritarian like Trump or like Netanyahu's an even better example. The fact that he has any support still in Israel, like, his entire thing is like, I'm the guy that can keep you safe in Israel.
Yep.
And so, like, whenever I see this stuff in the news, I always think about, like, the psychological impact on everyone that's reading these articles and, like, seeing these videos. Like, it pushes normal people towards accepting giving up their civil liberties and accepting, like, maybe we do need to evade Iran. Maybe they are that much of a threat and all these different things. And it's like, we're not supposed to be able to understand this stuff in context. Like, these things are horrible. And like, yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy time to be on social media.
And it just gives more maniacs more fodder to act insane. Every insane action like this, just it gives them 100 more excuses to do something even more crazy. Like, it's just a well, you did this, well, you did to, like, it's awful. And it's devastating. I feel horrible for the families there. I feel horrible. And there was a shooting in Old Dominion too on Thursday. Awful. Like, I mean, if we covered a school shooting every day, that would be the whole hour and a half. It's just this, and it's frankly, talk about questions I get a lot. Like, one question I get a lot, and it's always directed at you and me, Rick, is how do you guys, like, have the, like, mental stability to read this much news? Like, how do you not feel like shit all the time?
My blood pressure is skyrocketing.
Why do you think I started the damn show? Because I needed to get it out or I was going to lose my mind. And it's funny. Like, I feel very conflicted about this, but I'm curious what you think. Because, like, in some way, half of my brain says I completely empathize with everyone who wants to shut this off. Like, this is absolutely miserable, right? Like, this is like you said, like, our brains aren't even wired to deal with shit like this, literally a tragedy a day. You know what I mean? And people are like, I don't want to fucking think about this shit. This is a nightmare. On the other side, this is an extraordinarily horrible situation. And I feel like part of me feels, obviously, that, like, this is the time to double in because, like, this is when the thing's rocking. Like, this is the wobbling of the system, and it's the time to double down and care about it. But I could just never judge anyone for not giving a crap because, like, damn, this sucks. Like, all the things we're talking about, like, we'll roast these people, we'll call them, like, and we do it joke because we have to, but, like, dude, obviously this fucking sucks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no illusion that this is not horrible.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, I think we're all still trying to like figure out how we stay up to date with all of this while not losing our minds. I think like two things I've done in the past year that has helped. One is I very intentionally take like social media breaks and news breaks. Like there are whole days where I don't read the news whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which is like this is just like a small practical thing, but I have multiple Instagrams for each of my interests. So I have my personal Instagram where I only follow people I know in real life. So like only my actual friends. And then I have an Instagram to follow sports. And then I have one for guitar and music. And then I have one for news. And what that does is it makes your algorithm much more in line of what you actually want to see. So like when I go on my personal Instagram, I'm seeing what my friends post. When I go on my music Instagram, I'm seeing guitarists I follow. Like so every time I open up Instagram, I'm not just flooded with the absolute worst shit that's happening in the world every day. Like I've kind of like siloed these different algorithms so like I can choose what I'm in the mood for in that moment, which I think that has helped a lot.
That's smart. Yeah, you wouldn't want to see the lonely liberal Instagram's feed. It's awful. It's like you because it knows I'm politics focused. So I just get flooded with politics shit. Yeah, I hate having I mean, I'm happy everyone follows and likes the posts and stuff, but like even going on there, it's just a nightmare. Like the actual, that's why I only follow people who've gone on the show or like helped the show. It's because like I don't even like if I put even one more nugget out there, it'll just keep killing me. But speaking of Instagram, so Trump was on Fox a lot this week, and he commented on this attack, this terrorist attack, and it was the most racist shit I've heard. him like, okay, you could say the Obama's as a monkey video was the most racist thing he's ever done. And I think that would still take the cake for disgusting racism. But in terms of like words out of his mouth type thing, this one was it. Have you seen this clip that I'm going to play?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm going to share it on the screen. It's on Instagram, courtesy to whoever posted this because I can't find the Fox News clip. So the host had asked him to talk about the Lebanese dude who did this attack, who's now dead. And this was his monologue responding to that. Okay. So let me share my screen. All right. So ready?
Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there. So the genetics are not exactly, they're not exactly your genetic. It's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens. And it happens too often. So a lot of more let in here.
So he says it's their genetics.
Unbelievable.
Which, I mean,
the fact that like I saw a bunch of clips from that same interview and didn't even see that is also absolutely insane.
That's a crazy thing to say. Like, right? Like, I'm not overstating that, right? Like,
no, you're right. That's legitimately the most racist shit I've ever heard Trump say.
Right? Okay, good. Oh, okay, because that's what I thought, too.
That's absolutely insane. Yeah, it's their genetics. It's not the fact that this is the second time we've overthrown their entire country.
And no, he was devastated that his parents died and went absolutely batshit crazy. That's why.
Right.
It's not because he's Lebanese. You know what I mean? Like, it's just... And, like, what this will do is spark so much hatred for immigrants. Like people care about what the president says, whether we do or we don't. I don't think people realize this. Like, there are millions of people in this country that still think, as they probably should in normal circumstance, if the president says it, there must be some truth to it. Like, that's like a thing people think, obviously. I'm shaking around. Sorry for the camera. Not my normal, but I'm moving around a lot. I'm getting getting worked up.
I'm honestly speechless. I gotta be honest. I don't know what to say. That it's just Trump he's so racist all the time, but usually not that overtly. That's so unbelievably overt that I don't even know what to say.
Same. Like I saw that and I was like, that has to be. First I thought it has to be AI. Like that was my first thought. Like, come on. There's no way he's that maniac. And then I just kept seeing more and more reports. It's reported on the AP, all these legit sites. And like, yeah, that's the clip. That's the quote.
And the fact that got buried like that should be a massive headline everywhere.
It's the same interview where he said he would end the war when he feels it in his bones, and also that Putin is helping Iran. I mean, he just dropped so much insanity in one clip that he somehow buried that he thinks immigrants have bad genetics.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's Hitler stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's right. Like, that's Hitler stuff. Like, when people say, oh, you guys are overreacting, you're babies, I can't believe it, you called him Hitler, you call him racist. What do you say to that? Oh, he's trolling. It's a big joke, right? Didn't sound like a joke to me. Like, no punchline there, right? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, you literally can't get more Nazi than that. Like, that's what the entire
campaign was
Holocaust was based on.
Yep.
The entire that the whole thing was based on Jews are genetically a problem.
It's so bad. Like, it's so bad. There's no other way to put it. It's so bad. Like, and he didn't even stop him. The interviewer, he was just like, all right, yeah. No. Like, they don't care, Like, it's just a rough bunch. There's just no other way to put it. We can keep trying to, walk in circles to try to explain why people think this, but like at one point you just gotta go, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah, and can we save that clip for the next time people complain that liberals cry racism?
Seriously.
At everything? What do you call that?
What else? And like, it's crazy because when it was on Twitter, right, they say it's trolling. It's just a funny joke. So what is that? Is that a funny joke? Like, where's the joke? It's just, they're not, like, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, in that same interview, right, and we're going to say it later, but I'll just say it now, like, was when he said, also, the guy asked him about gas prices being higher, right? They're up 20 cents a gallon roughly nationwide because of the Iran war and the Strait of Hormuz stuff. And the quote that Trump delivered, another bomb quote, he said, I'm not paraphrasing, folks. He said, actually, raising prices are good for Americans. The United States is the largest oil producer in the world by far. So when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. This is a small price to pay for defeating Iran. In a way, this is good for Americans. So now, rising prices are good for the country. And I think, well, obviously you could say that's just Trump lying his way through to try to save his ass like normal. What I would say is, actually, no, it shows you who he legit cares about. Oil companies, the wealthy CEOs. He does think this. He thinks it's good for Americans because when he says Americans, MAGA listeners, who I know are listening fuming right now, like, he's not talking about you. He's talking about his boys. Larry Ellison, CEO of Chevron, CEO of these guys. That's who he's talking about when he says Americans. He's not talking about you. Like, please understand. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and if you're somebody that makes, let's say, $250,000 a year, he's not talking about you. Like, I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, I'm in the top 5% of income in the U.S., so like Republicans kind of support me more than Democrats. But it's like, no, like we're talking about like 10 billionaires.
Yeah.
Like,
he if you don't make over $150 million, he doesn't even think you're a person, basically.
Yeah. And also, he bragged about how low gas prices were 1 month ago.
Yeah, it's lies.
He was saying low gas prices were so great for Americans literally 2 weeks before he caused the biggest increase in years.
What is he good at? Seriously, like, what is, like...
Reality TV show.
Yeah.
That's it.
He would have been so good at that. In another universe. Lastly on this, before we go to the last bit of the show, again, referring to the domestic attack in Michigan. You know what was one of the things I thought of when this happened, right? I remember we talked about it last year. Who was in charge of the domestic terrorist, intelligence group, right? Because I remembered, I was thinking, like, wasn't it one of these clowns that they randomly put in? Like, remember that we got in? And then I remembered it was one of those random clowns. It was Thomas Fugati. who was the 22-year-old that they put in charge who used to be a freaking this guy. This guy who used to be a freaking gardener. He's now in charge of the terrorism prevention organization for domestic terrorists. This kid. So, like, really? Do we feel safe with this guy in charge? Remember during the Doge era? So
is this big balls or a different 22-year-old?
A different one, unbelievably. Fugatti. He went from gardener to this. He just posted about his testosterone a bunch on Instagram and got a domestic terrorism prevention job.
Yeah, this is the least merit-based administration we've ever seen.
That's what people need to realize. There's no Pam Bondi merit. RFK Jr. is in charge of the health department. He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
What merit? What merit do any of these people have? Like, literally. What was the merit of Trump originally? He was a reality TV guy? Like, what the hell? What is the merit?
Right.
Why do people think nepotism is merit-based? I don't understand. I don't get it. But we should move on to some of the last stuff. So the last big story of the week is that there's this Trump tweeting out saying he's not going to sign any pieces of legislation until they pass the SAVE Act. Now, to keep in mind, the SAVE Act, just for people who don't know, it's the legislation that the House passed a few weeks ago that basically makes people have to show their passport to re-sign or birth certificate to get to register to vote. So basically everyone would not have the vote and then they'd have to re-register. This obviously is a huge problem for 20 million Americans, I think, women who got married and who changed their name, obviously anyone in the LGBTQ community, basically anyone who's had a name change or is poor, frankly, and doesn't have a passport, right? So, but Nick, what about fraud? There's only been 99 cases of voter fraud in the last 50 years, and there's been billions of votes cast, nevertheless. So what's so interesting about this is he's saying, I'm not going to sign anything until this happens. Yeah, no shit, you're a piece of cake. But I wanted to not just talk about that. Is at a rally this week, he said in Georgia, if we pass this law, we'll never lose a race for 50 years. We won't lose a race. We need to pass this law to guarantee the Republicans win the midterms and every election for the next 50 years. That's his direct quote. So I thought it was for voter fraud. Right? Like, no. They think it's going to help them rig the elections. Like, that's them saying that. That's not even pretending to hide. It's because of voter fraud. Like, they just want to try to rig the elections. Period.
Right. And they want to disenfranchise as many women and poor people as possible.
To do so. Yeah, exactly. That's how they'll do it.
Right.
I mean, if they're bragging that it's the way to win the next 50 years of elections, why wouldn't they be bragging that it would help voter fraud if it was really voter fraud? Right? Like, I mean.
Yeah, this quote I'm about to read might have been from the same rally, but this is something that I feel like this needs to be all over the Democrats' midterm advertisements, is this quote. Talking about this SAVE Act, Trump says, "The people are demanding it. Every time I go out, they yell, 'Save America, save America. We want the Save America Act.' That's all they talk about. They don't talk about housing. They don't talk about anything. That's what they talk about. And if you send it up there, you will win the midterms and you will win every election for a long time." Like, that needs to be all over the advertisements because his whole appeal to the average American was that he talks like a normal person.
Yep.
And so therefore he understands their problems. And the central criticism of Biden, other than his age, was inflation and affordability. And this is another quote, just like when Trump said affordability is a scam. This is another quote. Like him saying the American people are all only talking about the Save America Act, they don't care about housing, is so unbelievable. It's such a, like politically and PR wise, that's such a disaster of a quote. That really needs to be everywhere because the reality is most Americans have never heard of the Save America Act and they don't understand voting rights and they don't understand that voting fraud is basically non-existent, like you said. Like that's all a little too in the weeds for probably the majority of people. But so him saying that the biggest issue is this Save America Act and not affordability and housing prices, like that quote should be everywhere.
100%. I mean, I think a lot of people think when they think of voter ID laws, they think because it does poll pretty well. I think they think it's like a driver license. Like we'll show, hey, see, I'm Nick. Like going into a bar. I think that's what they think people are asking for, and that isn't what this says. This says you need to re-register with your birth certificate or passport. Like that's not the same as showing up to a bar and proving that you're 21. And I think that has been lost in the weeds a bit in terms of when people say voter ID laws. That's what, you know what I mean? Do you think that too? Like, I feel like that is part of the confusion here on like what is actually being asked for with what people think they're voting they support when they poll.
Yeah, exactly. They think like, oh, I have to give my ID when I buy beer, so why not have to give it when you vote? Now, like the in the weeds argument against that is obviously like voting is a constitutional right and driving is not a constitutional right.
100%, yeah.
Flying
exactly.
on a plane is not a constitutional right. Like all those are privileges that you earn through a certain government regulated process. That is different than a constitutionally protected right. But that's like obviously the more wonky explanation for it. Like I think what you said needs to be driven home more, which is like what Trump is telling you about this bill is not true.
Yeah, it's a lie. Like it's not you just show an ID and you can vote. It's you're going to have to re-register to vote with your passport information and a copy of your birth certificates faxed in to wherever. Like within the next few months because midterms are in literally November.
Do
So,
you
like,
have your birth certificate handy?
No, obviously I don't even know where it is.
I have no idea where mine is.
Like it's ridiculous. Like some 55-year-old who has like 4 kids, like whatever, like, oh yeah, they're going to go working 2 jobs. Oh yeah, they're going to dig up their birth certificate and find a fax machine to fax it, like to re-register to vote on a Tuesday. It's ridiculous. Like it's like let's take off work, do all this administration stuff when we gave people 3 years to do the real ID and don't even really require that still. Like it's total bullshit. It's just total bullshit. And they're saying the quiet part out loud. They're literally just bragging about how it'll help Republicans. They're not even trying to pretend. It's the classic MAGA shamelessness that we see time and time again, and it's just disgusting. Speaking of which, so this could have been a good news story. So there was a bipartisan housing bill pass the Senate this week, which they call the Road to Housing Act. It was sponsored by Republican Tim Scott and Senator Elizabeth Warren out of Mass. Passed the Senate 89-10, one abstained. It'd be the largest housing bill signed in decades. Basically, it just modernizes housing rules, streamlines environmental stuff, things like that. And significantly, it makes it so institutional investors can't buy single-family homes, which we know is a big problem, right? That like private equity is buying houses up and jacking rent and costs up in markets. Like, so, for example, if they're willing to pay, more than fair value because they think the asset will appreciate over time, it raises the whole neighborhood's cost, which then can make it harder for new families to own houses, right? So this is a good idea. We don't want BlackRock buying. You don't want to be bidding against BlackRock when trying to buy a house. I think that's a fair. I think we can all agree that's fair. The House is saying they're not going to do it. Basically, Mike Johnson said we don't want to. It's not American, basically, to let out BlackRock. Like BlackRock has rights too, basically. Yeah, yeah. And also, let's dive to the next one, right? It probably won't get passed if because Trump said with the SAVE thing. So he's willing to let you not afford a house, and it's exactly what you said in the quote because he is telling people housing doesn't matter as much as voter stuff.
Yeah, and usually it's the opposite, right? Things pass the House first, and then they get held up in the Senate with the filibuster and et cetera, et cetera. But 89-10 is obviously that's a veto-proof majority. So if the House did pass it, they could override Trump's veto.
Yeah.
But would the House pass it knowing that Trump, because the Republicans in the House are so loyal to Trump, I don't think they would do that because they know how bad it would look for Trump to have to veto.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're
housing
going to do.
bill.
They're going to
Yeah.
pretend that they're not going to be in session. They're going to say we're in conference for months, blah, 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 blah. Mike Johnson will do his lying that he does better. He's awful, by the way. Mike Johnson's going to be really disgraced, like big time in the future. Like history will not look fondly towards this guy. And talk about a guy who, probably believes that Baptist-y, Christian crap about Israel. I mean, my God, that guy's probably right there, holding hands, wailing at the wall or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. So a couple of dumber pieces of news that I thought we should include this week. One that might strike near and dear to your heart, is that UFC fighters are sent to train the FBI agents at Quantico. So this week, like right now, they are on their way to the FBI Academy to Quantico. I've actually had the lovely privilege of going to this facility once, and it is a pretty boring place. It's just concrete building. But anyways, a bunch of fighters are coming, and Kash Patel set this up. I can't even believe this, but I'm just gonna let you talk about it because you actually really like the UFC. I like the UFC too, but you're a way bigger fan than me.
Yeah, and it's funny that I mentioned having different Instagrams for to try to separate algorithms, because on my sports focused Instagram, which is mostly MMA and baseball, the MMA side of things is now talking about the White House UFC event and Kash Patel. It's
You
fully
couldn't escape.
infiltrated. Yeah, my algorithm. I can't outsmart it. I mean, this is just so dumb, and obviously it's because Dana White, the CEO of UFC, is one of Trump's closest friends, speaks at all his events, is having this White House event, which looks like it's actually going to happen in June. They recently announced the fights that's going to be on that event. But this just seems like them trying to follow up on a dumb promise from when Patel first took office a year ago. And it's this is going to be a really stupid 2-hour TED Talk by UFC fighters talking to a bunch of FBI lawyers about how to fight. They're making it seem like they're going to do Muay Thai training in the desert or something.
No, they're going to an office building.
Yeah. This is going to be the most anticlimactic, useless, boring collaboration that, again, will probably be 1 hour, one day. It's not going to be a bunch of FBI agents becoming mixed martial artists.
And so who's going, right? It's Justin Gaethje, Jorge Masvidal, Chris Weidman, Michael Chandler, Anel Cape. Is that how you say his name? Cape? And Renzo Gracie. I also thought it was funny that the matchmaker Mick Maynard will be there. Is he going to be matching them up with the FBI?
Yeah.
Why is he showing up? So former FBI agent Chip Macy was on the news, and his quote was really interesting. And I think he encapsulates exactly how I feel about this, which is the FBI has a full complement of people who know how to train agents in hand-to-hand combat. I don't see the benefits of having UFC fighters demonstrating how to beat people up. FBI agents are specifically trained to use minimum force, de-escalate, and not let situations get out of hand, which is literally the exact opposite of the UFC. They get locked in a cage to beat the shit out of each other. FBI agents try to discreetly de-escalate conflict. Yeah, that's a good point. I wouldn't want my FBI agent on the ground trying to get you in a leg lock, trying to do jujitsu on you. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous.
It makes no sense. And I think police should have more physical training in general, because part of the reason they're so quick to shoot people in the United States is because they're so out of shape and slow.
Yeah, they can't chase people down. Yeah.
That anytime they feel like there's this tiniest possibility of a threat, they take out their gun and start firing because they know if there's any sort of physical challenge, they are not going to be up to it.
They can't handle.
So, like, I do actually think, like, police need more physical training. I just don't understand this FBI agent thing. None of this makes any sense. It's just a hacky PR move.
Well, it also fits the context. I mean, so obviously Kash Patel a few weeks ago was chugging beer with the Olympic hockey team in Milan. And then also, I don't know if you saw this. I looked his Instagram up for this show. He's been posting a lot of photos of him working out lately, like just workout photos with agents. So this might be part of a branding effort of it. You know, I'm a badass. He might be going through his Tucker Carlson era. He might start taking more Zins. Like I feel like this is all kind of part of that same kind of thing.
He reminds me of like that kid growing up in school that always said, I'm going to be a Marine.
Yeah.
And that was his whole personality. And then like he ended up never going into the military and just having a bunch of like repressed anger.
Well, remember, he got this job because of his podcast. And, I hope we say some smart stuff on this show, but neither of us should become Secretary of State. We shouldn't be appointed to serious positions. And frankly, I have more training I have my graduate education, but whatever. But like, regardless. Yeah, he's an idiot. This is stupid. Another thing that was stupid this week, Jim Clyburn, who is a Democrat from South Carolina, I believe. He is 85 years old, and he announced Thursday he will be seeking his 18th term in the House. He is now the last of basically the Pelosi and Hoyer generation who are retiring. This is ridiculous. I mean, in quote talking about it, he said, "This very well could be my last term, but it very well could not be. I'm feeling good. I feel like I can continue." I mean, he probably will win because of his district, but like he shouldn't. I mean, he shouldn't. He really shouldn't.
And like he was a new member of the House in his early 60s in the 90s. So like, in the 90s, he was at the point in life where most Americans are retiring, and he was beginning his career.
It's just so embarrassing. It's just like, and can we talk about how little this shows Jeffries gets it? Because Hakeem Jeffries, obviously minority leader of the House, should say, no, dude, you're not running. The Democrats look like shit. We literally just got slammed for being too old. The current president is so old he can't even, he's monologuing if he'll make it into heaven on the news every other week. What we definitely don't need is a dude who will be almost 90 years old by the end of the term.
We finally convinced Pelosi to not
get
run
out
again. We finally, 20 years too late, but they finally convinced her.
The absolute archangel of attacks of every single, there's no one this country dislikes more than probably Nancy Pelosi in terms of like, if you ask anybody, name someone in Congress, they'll go, fucking Pelosi.
Of course.
Inciting, trading. Can you believe how much she makes? Blah. That is the most universally claimed sentence in all of American politics. And yet this dude goes, you know what? And it's just like Janet Mills, frankly, running at 80 for it's the same thing, These people want to be in office until they're literally dead.
Yeah, well, he was actually asked about that, and he said, today I'm going to answer a question that is always asked. What is there unfinished, or what more do you need to do? Well, it's in the preamble of our Constitution. We exist in pursuit of a more perfect union. So,
yeah.
That's where his brain is.
And only you can do that, buddy. You gotta call it. I mean,
yeah. Don't you have a grandson that can run for office?
You probably have a great grandson. Dude, he very well has a grandson in his 30s.
Right.
I mean, definitely. I mean, it's just a sad state. And again, it does speak to this larger thing of, I want more than anything in the world, the Democrats to win both the House and the Senate in the fall, right? Like, I might literally cry of joy if that happened, right? Like, by the way, we should have a live stream event on election night, I think.
Definitely.
But it does make me worried that these guys have learned nothing. I mean, my God, they're trotting out seniors again. They're trotting out these same, I mean, it feels like, what's different? What is this? It's just another set of, it's just more of the same. I don't know. This is such a poorly run party. How many
Right,
more
and,
elections do they need to lose to lose the same way?
And we should be talking about if 70 is too old.
Yeah.
Is 65 too old? These are the conversations we should be having, not 85.
No, especially 85 and they've been in office for 30 years. It's like Susan Collins in her original run for Senate saying, I will not do more than 2 terms. And yet she's running for her 5th term or whatever. It's just, there needs to be term limits on all of these positions. There just has to be. Or they end up like Mitch McConnell, literally having seizures on the House floor multiple times a year now. They go until then. They go until they're literally wheeled into a hospital bed. That's it. But anyways, that's the news. Do you have anything you want to talk about? Or are we,
No, I think that's it.
All right, cool. I mean, thank you for watching this special edition live from Royal Broadcasting Live. I think a famous conservative podcaster, radio host from the 40s used to say broadcasting live from radio. I think he was a famous anti-Semite, so maybe I shouldn't be saying that. But anyways, yeah, what a week, huh? I mean, my God.
Crazy.
What do you think's the craziest part of the week, if you had to say? What would you say was the thing that made you go, whoa?
The Trump genetics quote.
Yeah. That one was, that interview I think was the peak of the week because him being like, oh, can you blame Putin? That, he likes Putin so much more than Americans. It's crazy. It just cannot be said enough how much more he prefers Vladimir Putin over, Chuck Schumer. He'd so much rather get dinner with Putin than Schumer. It's not even close. He does not care. Which is funny, because how can you think Iran's so evil, but also, whatever. Anyway, all right, that's the show. We'll talk to you later, man.
Thanks.
Thank you per usual. See ya. And that's our show, folks. Thank you so much for listening today. If you like the show, please give it a 5-star review wherever you listen. Rate, comment, all that stuff. It really does help, and I am very appreciative. Thank you so much for doing so, and we'll be back on Wednesday per usual. And until then, take it easy. See ya. Bye.